Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Final Fantasy III for the Nintendo Famicom system. It's time for us to head into the Forbidden Land Eureka to try to unseal all those weapons that were stored in there. The mirror spoke. The forbidden weapons remain sealed here in the gate to Eureka. An invisible wall blocks the path. This is where we have to use the Eureka key. It will disappear from our inventory, and we'll be allowed to go through that wall and into the mirror. To this new dimension where Doga went to try to find the Eureka key. So a lot of good treasure. Most of the treasure on the first few floors, though, is mainly just like weapon, black magic items to use in battle. You don't start getting the really good weapons until the end of the dungeon. Although the best thing at the end of the dungeon is the unlocking of the final two classes, the Sage and the Ninja. So, Ninja was a underrepresented class in the first game, mainly because to get a Ninja, you had to suffer with a Thief. Thieves are the worst class in Final Fantasy I. All their advantages are kind of messed up by programming errors and stuff, so their best stat, luck, didn't affect anything. They're supposed to be better at running, but there was a bug in the running code that took away that advantage, so they didn't have like any useful abilities like the thieves in this game where they can steal. Their armor was very limited, and weaponry as well. The Red Mage, which was the hybrid wizard fighter class, actually had better weapon selection than the thief. So, yeah, that one streamer Gyre on Twitch, he does like challenge runs, and his solo thief without getting class change. That was in order to be able to do that, it took him multiple tries, and he had to manipulate all his level up so he got strength and agility and vitality just to be able to beat the game. It took him like 20 hours to get past Astos, who was a big hurdle in that game. Because if Astos slows you, you can't get more than one hit. You have weak weapons, weak defense. So that's really hard to even get to level 20, which I think you had to get to beat Astos. Because at that point, your level is high enough that enemies will start running from you. You can't really... A lot of the enemies, like the ogres that you want to fight, you can't beat them in one hit, and they may run away from you. So, yeah, it's a pain. But I'm not subjecting myself to that challenge. I'm just playing these games as normal gamers, I guess, would. So, a little bit of extra strategy, but nothing that... No super duper pro tips. So, we get our first ribbon. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get any more ribbons until the very end of the game in the Dark World. There's actually 5 ribbons in this game. One more than what we need. Which stinks because in some other Final Fantasies and spin-offs, you have one less than you need, so... But we can talk about that in another video. Let's talk about this boss here, the Ninja. It'll actually become a common enemy later on in this same dungeon, so it's not like a lot of other enemies that guard chests where they become a boss monster or a common enemy in a future dungeon. You know, a few floors from now is where the ninja will start popping up as a random encounter. So luckily he's not too hard. He can blind you, but that's not a big problem. We just have our we have some eye drops to cure that, and if not, we have the Baby Moo as the Devout can cast Asuna, which removes all status ailments. So, unfortunately, the only thing that makes this battle a little bit tougher is we get a back attack. So, Fang ain't able to deal effective damage because his accuracy is cut in half and he's not dealing a lot of damage. So, I think what I end up actually doing is resorting to Tangeweenie and Baby Moo just turning this guy into to stone. Because Baby Moo has those golden staffs, which can turn to stone, and Tangeweenie's her rod, Omni Rod, I think, also has that property. So it can turn the enemy into stone, like basically 3 successful hits, and they just turn to stone. And once they're stone, well, yeah, they're basically a statue and they can't do anything, so the game just gives you the win. So, unfortunately, it's not like Final Fantasy V, where they tell you that like enemies made of stone, like golems and stuff, can be instantly defeated by throwing a gold needle on them, the one that removes the stone. So it's just like kind of like using a life potion on the undead. Just finish them off in one turn. But I'm sure we had some stone-type enemies here. We'll have some stone enemies in the next game while we're playing Dragon Warrior. The Golem family. Gold men, which give you a terrible experience, but a lot of gold, because they're made of gold, and then you have regular golem, and then you have stone men. So, all pretty advanced enemies. But not as many enemies in that game as there are in the Final Fantasy games, but then Dragon Warrior preceded the Final Fantasy games, so... But still an enjoyable game. They actually had a pretty big rivalry, Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior. The original Final Fantasy, I know in America, when you go to Elfland, one of the graves, if you watch my playthroughs on that, you look at it and it says, like, here lies Link. But in Japan, that grave says, here lies Lodo, and he's the hero of the Dragon Quest games. So they're even taking shots at each other back then. But they retranslated it because, more Americans would understand Link more than Lodo, because the name was changed from Lodo to Erdrick in America, along with Dragon Quest to Dragon Warrior, because there's another board game called Dragon Quest, and they couldn't get the rights. Eventually, though, Dragon Warrior did change back to Dragon Quest in America. And Square, the company who made Final Fantasy, the rival of Enix, who made Dragon Warrior, end up merging together, and they formed Square Enix now. So, Square Enix, I could have pronounced both ways, but yeah, the two rivals came together. So, alrighty, well, we cleared out the left side here. Let's start clearing out the right side here. Getting into a whole bunch of encounters. There's not a lot of enemies in here. Run into basically those Sleipnir enemies, and there's this like dragon type enemy. But yeah, not a lot of new enemies in here. So even though we got a lot of walking to do and we're covering a lot of terrain in this, we won't be seeing a lot of fights because I think there's only 5 enemies, new enemies in total, besides the bosses. There's quite a few mini bosses, and the mini bosses will tend to guard like good equipment, mainly weapons. We are going to skip 2 of the weapons though, because we'll get basically the 4 best weapons in the game. 2 of them are Magic Knight swords, which Fang can use, and then the other 2 are Knight swords, like great swords that only the Knight class can use. So we're going to skip those 2 great swords because we don't have anyone in our party who can use them until we actually get the ninja. So now these hook enemies, or Heyoka enemies, one thing about them is, see, they use the thunder. So this is like one enemy that you don't ever want to use the thunder spell on, so you don't want to summon a freak against them because they actually absorb lightning damage, or cast a Thundaga spell with Tupelo. But just use any other summon. As you can see, Titan takes them out in 1 hit. So that's the only one you really have to worry about, watching what spell you use against them. Everybody else, not a problem. We're on the 4th floor, so we're going to find the first of our super weapons, the Moonring Blade. which is like a boomerang weapon. We get into a fight right before it, so let's get it from the bottom here. The Moon Ring of Darkness tried to defeat me. And we have a palette swap of Hein. And like Hein, Amon here, basically like will change his barrier. So what we're going to try to do is just basically attack him with non-elemental spells. We don't have to worry about him absorbing them. And we don't have to worry about choosing a scholar to check out what he's weak against, because we'll just hit him with non-elementals like Bio and Leviathan. We can also haste up Fang there to deal some extra damage and get a few more hits in. But yeah, we don't have to worry about wondering what his weakness is and potentially healing him. Yeah, 2 Leviathans will take him out, so... As long as you're not using one of those lightning, ice, or fire spells, you'll be fine. Just use something else like, you can use like the Chocobo, which is a physical attack. And our characters are much more accurate, so unlike Hein, who was able to dodge most of our attacks because he had good evasion and our characters didn't have really good hit rates, our characters now, like Fang does, pretty accurate with his swords, so he's able to hit Amon pretty easily, and we're able to claim the Moonring Blade, which is one of the Dark Knight weapons, which is why we got it, and that'll give a definite boost to the attack power. All the magical weapons have, whatchamacallit, 160 attack power except for the Ragnarok, which is the strongest sword. That gives you 200. But the other ones, Excalibur, the Mazamune, and the Moonring Blade are all like 160. Some of them give some bonus stats though, like to your vitality, to your agility, to your strength. So, but we're only grabbing those 2 samurai, the Dark Knight swords or weapons, because the Moonring Blade isn't a sword. Because they're the only ones we can use. So. But once we unlock the Ninja class and the Sage class at the same time, we'll be able to go back and grab those other 2 swords. So, luckily, even though this dungeon is long, has tough enemies, and has a bunch of like mini bosses guarding like the good equipment, at the very end there's like a little refuge where we can buy some equipment. We can end up buying extra copies of the level 6, 7, and 8 summon spells, Odin, Leviathan, and Bahamut. So, we have a short little floor here. It's nice they give us the two weapons first are the Dark Knight weapons, so we get them really quick to help us finish off the other 2 Guardian bosses, who guard the Excalibur and Ragnarok, and I guess another one that guards the Elder Staff. The Elder Staff's a good staff. It basically boosts your magic, all your elements, so it's a good weapon overall. But the main reason you want to get the Elder Staff is because unlocking the Elder Staff also unlocks those final 2 jobs, the Sage and the Ninja, which are basically like the ultimate jobs. So, 3DS Remake, they kind of nerf those jobs a little bit. I think they make the Onion Knight the ultimate job. But in that game, you don't start as an Onion Knight, you start as a freelancer. You don't have a job, kind of like in Final Fantasy V. So here's the Mazamune, best sword in Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Now it's like a 2nd tier sword. So the Ragnarok does more damage and it has a better attack power. But we have to fight a Kunichi, which is basically a female ninja. So, a little bit tougher than the regular ninja that we took out. Has almost double the hit points. Can also paralyze your enemies with things, so where the ninja just blinds you, which affects your melee characters, of course, but if your wizard is blinded, it doesn't matter, because blindness doesn't affect their spell accuracy. But paralyzing our 2 mages there, Tupelo and Tangeweenie, that's going to really cut down on our offense. Luckily, Fang can pick up a little bit better offense with that upgraded moon ring. Good thing about the moon ring is it's a boomerang, so it doesn't suffer the negative penalties from the back row. Normally a melee weapon incurs a 50% reduction in its accuracy from the back row, but the moon ring doesn't. Theoretically, you put Fang in the back row, but he would still have penalties to his sword, so we'll keep him in the front row. So, but I guess if you like got another boomerang or something, and it was available in a more when you first got the thief equipment, thieves use boomerangs. You could whatchamacallit, have a back row ninja. So basically doubles their survivability because the enemy has a 50% reduction to its accuracy to hit you from the back row. So, alright, we're heading into the second to last floor here. Now to the right is where the Excalibur sword is, but we're going to skip that right now because even if we defeat the enemy who guards it, the general, he won't be able to use the sword, so there's no use going out of our way to grab the sword. We'll get it on our way out. We can't teleport out of here, so we're going to have to walk, so we're going to come back this way anyway, so. It's kind of a tricky floor. There's a lot of like secret passages, including the end passage there. We have to kind of walk through the wall. And we get to our location here. Before we want to grab that Elder Staff, we want to head into here because there's that refuge that I was talking about. We have a revival spring over here on the left. Not that we need that, but we will need the spring on the right. That'll restore all our hit points and magic points. And once we do that, we can head out to fight the Elder Staff on the left. Defeat me to unlock the ninja and sage job. So we got Skyla here. It's kind of like I think it's like in mythology, it was like one of the sisters of Medusa, one of the Furies. So check that out. But point here is Skyla is kind of annoying. Basically, she just attacks with a flare spell, which deals some pretty good damage. If you had an evoker, you can cast Odin and have him put a wall up and reflect back things. If you had the reflect spell, which I did not buy, you could have your white mage or devout use that spell. Or if you have a bunch of those curtain items, you can just use them to throw up the wall. But unfortunately, the reflect spell only lasts for one turn, or one reflect. So, like if we had a reflect spell on Tupelo, Tupelo wouldn't have the reflect spell anymore, because it's just once and done. So, we just press our luck and hope that Skyla doesn't attack the same person twice in a row, and hope Baby Moo outspeeds her and can cast that Kiraja spell to fully restore the hit points. So we get the Elder Staff and the title that can wield any weapon, the Ninja, and the title that can perform any spell, the Sage. And we are definitely changing our characters into those classes as soon as we get into this little refuge here. So we're going to have to de-equip all our characters, of course, and we're running out of room here. I want to save that Crystal Mail, though, because that Crystal Mail will, and the Genji gear that we have also sitting in our stuff, because that'll go onto our ninjas. So here we can we'll just sell a bunch of these items that we were using, that you can use in battle. That'll clear up the room we need to de-equip all our characters to change them into the jobs we need. So, and here we can get the other copies of Odin, Leviathan, and Bahamut for our second Sage. Here we can buy some level 8 magic. Flare's a good single target spell, pretty powerful. Death, of course, is just instant death spell, but has low accuracy. Meteor is a hit all, but it shares the same level as Bahamut, so you're probably just gonna use Bahamut instead of that, and Flare. So the best spell really there is a Rise, which basically brings a character who's defeated back to life with full hit points. So that's probably the best spell, but I just got the Flare spell to fill up my inventory. So I'm going to remove all our equipment here so we can change our characters into their final jobs. Fang and Tupelo will be the ninjas, and Tangeweenie and Baby Moo will end up being the sages. And they pretty much should have all their magic that they need right now. That's what we kind of shifted around. We'll have to take some off of Tupelo and throw that on our other characters, but that's what we're going to do here. So, yep, the other two will be, so we have 2 basic attackers and 2 basic mages. And those sages are basically going to be all like our ins, basically. They'll be healing all our characters after battles, and then when they run out of spell charges, that's when we'll use the elixirs to heal them up. So there's also another shop here we're going to go to. It's a secret shop. And we can buy an extra set of crystal mail there, crystal gear, but we're going to just give our other ninja, Tupelo, the... whatchamacallit, the Genji gear, the hand-me-down Genji gear, because we'll end up getting crystal gear, some more crystal gear later on in the Circus Tower. So, and one of our sages will give a white robe to, and the other one will give the black robe to. Although I guess probably the black robe would probably be the better, because the sages will probably be using more summon magic, and that is affected by intelligence. But I guess it's good to have a super better healer and a super good attacker, so finally be able to get rid of one of our golem staffs, so get the other intel staff, so you see that one helps with the intelligence there, gets an intelligence boost. And then there's the secret shop. Like I said, you have to hit that little hidden button there and that little clove there. You get over this guy, and this guy sells crystal gear, and he also sells shurikens, which are basically the strongest one-use weapon in the game. So, right now the Chrysanth swords are actually the strongest swords, the strongest weapons. They're a little bit better than the more attack than even the Holy Spear and the Great Blade and the claws and that axe that we got. So yeah, just go with the 2 Chrysanth swords. They will be eventually, like I said, replaced with the Ragnarok and Excalibur. And this Genji gear will eventually be replaced by the crystal gear that we'll end up getting for free. But now, if you are doing a lot of grinding, this is a good place to. You can always come back here and buy as many shurikens as possible. I'm not going to get as many. I'm going to get as many shurikens as I can afford. Not as many as my test run, which just means that I won't be able to abuse shurikens as much in the final area, but that's okay. So we'll end up with, I think, 21, because we're gonna have some to pull out of storage. We got a few in the we got a few in treasure chest going here. We want to keep 1 Gishel Green because we have elixirs and some and 1 shuriken back in the Fat Chocobo. So we want to try to buy the shurikens in groups of 10 because that gives us the best discount, 20% off basically. 4 gives you like 12% off, I think. So but we can't afford another group of 10, so we can buy a group of 4. And then when we get the Ragnarok sword, we can sell one of those crystal swords and maybe get a few more little gold. Maybe we can buy another shuriken. So, but now that we've changed our classes and pretty much equipped, we'll just final thing, we'll get rid of these spells because Tupelo won't be casting any more spells anymore, and these spells will go on to Tangeweenie and Baby Moo, and will fill out their magic entirely. And then, of course, they will refill their magic, and everyone will refill their hit points with by touching that spring. So Baby Moo needs the Thunder spell and either Warp or Bio. They share the same. They share the same level. Well, Baby Moo needs the Sleep spell, which is actually like much better than an Elemental spell because a lot of enemies actually susceptible to sleep in the final area. So just give the rest of the spells to Tangeweenie, who was basically having a bunch of summon spells. Tangeweenie's full there. The slight differences is Tangeweenie has the mini spell, Baby Moo has the Toad spell, and Baby Moo has the Warp spell, and Tangeweenie has the Bio spell. We don't need any of these other spells, so we'll just sell them. Not with a lot of money, but if we can potentially get another Shuriken, that'd be nice. But looks like we're not. Yeah, we could. Nope, Canada. So. We could have bought one, but I'll see if I can maybe get two. But because we gotta have a few more fights to do when we get that Ragnarok sword. But we'll end up doing that in our next episode. We're just gonna heal up here, and we'll leave Eureka in the next episode. Take care. See you then. Bye.